All right, let's jump right in. We're going to tackle a question today that is, well, it's bigger than history, it's bigger than science. It takes us right to the very edge of existence itself.
I mean, really think about that for a second. Before anything, no Big Bang, no stars, no galaxies, not even a single cell. Where in all of that nothingness could an idea like Dharma, this concept of a universal order, possibly come from? That's the huge mystery we're diving into today.
So let's try to wrap our heads around that. A time before time, a place before space. It's a totally mind-bending idea, right? But that's exactly where we have to start. Because this isn't just a question about history, it's really a question about where consciousness itself comes from. Okay, so to even begin to answer this, we've got to rewind way, way back. Back to the very first sparks of human thought. Faith. It didn't start with a book or some grand institution. Nope. It started with people just looking around, simply observing the world. And what they saw was so powerful that they gave it a name. Long before anyone was talking about Dharma, there was this idea of Rita. Rita. That was their word for this incredible, predictable, almost magical system that seemed to be running the whole show. And, they saw it everywhere. The sun always rose in the east. The seasons always changed, right on schedule. Water, it always flowed downhill. These weren't just random coincidences, They were like unbreakable rules. And that cosmic rhythm, that predictable beat of the universe, that was the very first thing humanity put its faith in. It was this gut feeling that something was keeping everything in balance. So from watching the world that they could see, they started to wonder about a reality that they couldn't see. And this is what leads us to something truly unique, the origin of humanity's most ancient scriptures, the Vedas. Now, get this, because this is where it gets really interesting. Every book you've ever read had an author, right? Someone sat down, thought it up, and wrote it. But the Vedas, the tradition says that's not what happened here. This knowledge is different. It wasn't invented by anyone. Which brings us to this incredible concept called Sruti. It literally means that which was heard. The idea is that these ancient sages, these rishis, could go into such deep states of meditation that they could actually, tune in. Like a radio, they could tune into the fundamental frequency of the universe itself. So they didn't write the Vedas, they heard them. They heard the truth of the cosmos. So what was this truth that they heard? Well, it goes right back to our big question from the start. What was there before the beginning of everything? And there's this famous hymn in the Rig Veda, the Nasdiya Sukta, that dives right into it. And just listen to the sound of these words for a second. This isn't some simple creation story. This is a deep philosophical question about the ultimate mystery. A question they were asking thousands and thousands of years ago. What's amazing is, the hymn doesn't pretend to have all the answers. It doesn't say so-and-so created the world. Instead, it's just filled with this profound sense of awe and wonder. It really pushes your mind to think about the unimaginable. It talks about this one singular thing, that one, that was just breathing on its own power when there wasn't even air. It existed when concepts like life and death, or even existence and non-existence, just didn't make any sense. Okay, so you've got this enormous amount of heard knowledge, right? Being passed down from person to person for generations. But how do you go from that to the structured books we have today? Well, that took an absolutely monumental effort. Fast forward to about 5,000 years ago, a really key moment in history. This huge, scattered ocean of wisdom that was floating around in people's memories, it was finally organized, put into a structure so it wouldn't be lost. And the one person credited with this incredible, massive job was Maharishi Vyasa. Now remember, he didn't write the Vedas. He was more like the ultimate editor. He collected all this divine knowledge, he organized it, and he put it all into a system that could actually be used to guide humanity. What he did was sort everything into 4 main texts, the 4 Vedas. You've got the Rig Veda, which is full of hymns and praises. The Yajur Veda, which is kind of the how-to guide for rituals. The Sama Veda took those hymns and set them to music. And then there's the Atharva Veda, which is just fascinating. It's packed with mantras for science, medicine, and just everyday life. The whole shebang, really. A complete guide to living. So let's recap the whole journey here.
It all starts with our ancient ancestors just being blown away by the natural order of the universe, what they called Rita. That awe led them to perceive a deeper truth, something that wasn't written down but was heard, the Sruti. That knowledge asks the biggest questions you can imagine, and it was eventually all put together to help guide civilization forever.
And that leaves us with a pretty wild thought, doesn't it? When you hear these ancient texts talking about a single point before time and space, or a universe that came from vibration, wow. It's really hard not to think about modern physics, you know? Things like the Big Bang singularity or string theory. How in the world did they get so close to these ideas thousands of years ago? It's an amazing question that connects their world right to ours, and it makes you want to just keep digging. Thanks for exploring this with us.